What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Cleveland Policy YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Harold. And in 2024, you might be seeing just a little bit more of the solo dolo videos, no more of the duos or the trio videos, just because we're trying to do a little bit more with trying to get you guys more content and more videos and whatnot. So a little bit more coverage, if you wouldn't. But for today, I'm bringing you guys the Week 18 preview for the Browns versus the Bengals in division matchup, but one that still will be played and not by your typical starters and whatnot. Obviously, Joe Flacco not playing, Jeff Driscoll getting the start for the Cleveland Browns, Jake Browning over there for the Bengals, I believe. Quite a few players are going to be out for this game. Gonna quickly bring what Mary Kay brought up in the last 51 minutes. Now, this is the official tweet. As you can see, Bjorquez questionable, Cooper out, Ford, this Mike Ford out, Marquise Goodwin questionable, Hopkins out. I'm not even going to attempt his last name, but I know he's a linebacker questionable. Moore. I'd imagine if Moore's questionable for this game, if Elijah Moore is questionable for this game, he's going to be out. Greg Newsome out. Thornhill out, Walker out. And then above this tweet was this one. Kevin Stefanski said Myles Garrett idle, was sore today, unlikely to face the Bengals. Still the favorite to win NFL Defensive Player of the Year. We'll talk about that when me and Jeff get on next time. And another one right here about safety one. Thornhill, calf bothering him again, and no rest versus Bengals. Others out. Just going into a little bit more detail about Mari Cooper, Mike Ford, Dustin Hopkins, Greg Newsome, and Anthony Walker. But yeah, that being said, obviously this Week 18 matchup, one where the Browns are just looking to get a little bit of rest, getting some players a little bit of tune-up to get ready for their first playoff matchup in a year. Yeah, a year. We were 2 years ago in the playoffs, removed 1 year, and now back again with Joe Flacco leading the helm, not this week, but again, one of these weeks where you're trying to just cruise by, hopefully escape the injury bug. Obviously, guys who are typical starters and would play the majority of the game, maybe they get a quarter or a few series and then they're pulled, and hopefully the rest of the teams are going, or the rest of the players are getting their game snaps ins and whatnot. But want to take a quick look over here at the standings. And so, obviously, you guys can see 13-3 Ravens. They had quite the season, also signing Dalvin Cook in the last day here. Something that I do know that a lot of people on the Browns side thought could be a possibility, but sitting at 11-5, your Cleveland Browns clinched the wild card for the second time in Kevin Stefanski's tenure here. And yeah, obviously we will be looking at some of these games down here, Jags, Colts, Texans, obviously all going to decide a potential Steelers. I discussed to find this out that the Steelers could have a real shot at making the playoffs. Honestly, didn't think that was possible with how their season was going. They have turned it around a little bit, but man, oh man, that's quite the story. But obviously, Jeff and I talked a little bit about potential matchups that we could see. Obviously, the Bills here is one. We'd love to see, you'd honestly really love to see the Chiefs at this point with how their season is going and how they're playing. But yeah, and any one of these teams, I'd feel pretty, again, National Football League playoffs, but I feel a little bit more comfortable playing one of the teams down here as well. And yeah, moving on from that, the one thing that I do want to like, and again, a lot of these things I'm going to talk about on my own, we are going to bring up when Jeff and I probably talk after the game in the review of what has happened. But one of the things I wanted to bring up, and just why I feel like it's been such a misleading tenure for Kevin Stefanski, is that since he took over, you can see that this up here is your offensive ranking and your defensive ranking. Now, points, yards, that's how they're split. Obviously, this is the offensive side, this is the defensive side. Now, If you come all the way down here, this is where it really starts. And we're only going to really pay attention to these offensive and defensive rankings for now. Again, Jeff loves to talk about these type of things. And so hopefully he'll take a look at the video, give me his thoughts. If not, we'll go over it again eventually. But you can see that for those first 3 years, and obviously the most tumultuous points of the year, he goes from making the playoffs here, not making the playoffs, not making the playoffs, and then boom, we're here. We're gonna talk about this, but um obviously look at the stats here. His offenses never really picked up where you thought they would when he first took over with the roster that he had. Obviously, Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Baker Mayfield. Now, again, the offensive line was top three, top five, and there was a lot to work out. Obviously, then that final year last year with Brissett looked really, really good. Cooper, again, really, really good. Donovan Peoples-Jones the year before was your leading wide receiver, can tell you a lot about what that season was like. And so you see this, and this is the last year you get on paper, and you go into year four, typical year four for most coaches, quarterbacks, any player, anything in the NFL really in 4-year contracts is you're going into contract year, you're going into an extension mode. And so, in the most appropriate time, in the most crazy fashion, Kevin Stefanski has finally produced a top 10 year in points. And for the longest time, I was checking this pretty regularly because this side, the 11-1, I mean, you look at those. This was such an anomaly. I'm gonna have to go back and look at what we did in this year that we were fifth in yards. But if you look at these stats, this is the makings of a high quality complementary team where there's not really a way to check your special team stats right now, but offense, defense basically mirroring each other and yards, points. And so you get to this point where, we're at the end of the season. Obviously, this game doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of win loss, who plays well, who doesn't play well. But, when you're trying to evaluate what this season meant and what this season really overall accomplished for the Browns as an organization is, I think you cemented the idea that you have your franchise coach. I think above all else, that was something that you've never been able to say. And I feel like it's something you can say confidently. If he wins coach of the year for a second time in 4 years, you'd be asinine to think it'd be asinine to think that he wouldn't get a massive, massive contract extension. And he's deserving of it. And again, same thing with Andrew Berry. You have to believe that these guys are deserving of extensions and praise for what they've built with this team and how they've survived and just stuck with this, with their guys, with what they've put in place on this team and in their morals. And moving into week 18, win loss, it can be what it is. I'm gonna go, for the sake of having a prediction for this week, 21-17 Browns. I'd love to get a win out of this team. I think the Bengals are at that point where they know a win doesn't do anything for them, and a loss certainly helps them a little bit with draft positioning. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how hard they play and how hard, I think our guys will play, our backups will play pretty tough. So, that all being said, guys, thank you all for making it this far into the video. If you haven't already, please make sure you are subscribing, liking, making sure you guys comment. What do you guys think is going to happen in this game? What are you guys looking forward to? And yeah, with that all being said, looking forward to a great 2024.